TogiNet Radio has partnered with one of the largest travel booking engines in the world to offer savings of 15 to 30% or even more. I give you the opportunity to go look at their hotel fees and take advantage of their cost savings. Please go to www.bestradiotravel.com. Check them out. I think you'll be pleased.
Welcome to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, a program for and about women. Joyce Buford is a certified coach and motivational speaker who has a passion for helping women who need a second wind. She is the author of the Amazon bestseller, Effortless Happiness, How to Find Your Voice and Finally Ask for What You Really Want. She studied directly with her mentor, Jack Canfield, and is a fully certified coach in his program. Also, she has served as an assistant in his training programs. Through her study with many prestigious coaches and mentors, she has created a powerful program that has positively impacted thousands of people. On today's program, Joyce and her guests will help you to get your second wind. Now here's your host, Joyce Buford.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. You know, it thrills me to know that you're out there listening and that we will be able to offer you another great guest today. We have all these journeys that we're going on, and it's amazing when we can connect with one that has been on her own journey and has successfully maneuvered through it, creating something even better than she ever thought imaginable. So our guest is much that woman today. But before I go there, I want to tell you about an offer that I have. You know, it's kind of, we kind of get a little lethargic or nostalgic, I guess is the word, about that kid happiness we used to have where, you know, about the ages of 3 to 7 where you just giggle and absolutely just fall down on the ground with just laughter. Well, it's kind of hard sometimes. We don't do that. It's much further to fall anymore these days, but we just don't have that real joy in our life and the happiness. So there is a way that you can recapture that happiness that you may be missing. Deepak Chopra stated that unhappiness is rooted in not knowing who you really are. Well, on my website, JoyceBufordEmpowers.com, there is a free offering for you there that you can actually take 5 steps toward happiness. I help share this information with you so that you can begin your journey of reclaiming happiness in your life. If you are happy and not needing this, share this with somebody. Let them know there are tools out there that they can take advantage of so we can all get happy or happier. I want to share with you our guest today. Her name is Ellen Violette, and Ellen is an award-winning book and business coach who helps authors, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, trainers, and speakers become a #1 best-selling author and helps market their books so that they grow and have a successful launch without the stress and the overwhelm of that whole process. She loves working with busy movers and shakers who value their time as well as their personal service to their audience. And they just don't want to spend a month or a year getting their book done. So Ellen is a multi-international #1 best-selling author. She is a 3-time Elite Award winner. Now, I looked that up because I was not familiar with that. Elite. Am I saying that right?
Elite.
Ellen? Elite?
Yes, Elite.
It's the English, it's the best of the English Digital Publishing Entertainment award. And she's been 3-time winner of this award. A former regular contributor to Published magazine. And she is the CEO of her own own company, Create a Splash. And this is the part I like as well. She is a Grammy-nominated songwriter because I love music. So I'm really picking up on that, Ellen. I think it's awesome. So we are I'm just so excited. We're thrilled that you're here today to share with us maybe that life wasn't always this magnificent. There may have been a few stops along the way, but we are delighted to have you here with us today.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
So if I was just a person listening out there, let's just forget that I wrote a book, because sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the fact that I wrote a book. But can anybody write a awesome book, award-winning book, or is it much more difficult than we think?
Well, I, first of all, work with mostly nonfiction writers. I do work with fiction, but when I was talking about writing books, I wouldn't have a clue how to write a fiction book. So I mainly work with nonfiction. So the most important thing with nonfiction is being able to solve the problem. So if you can identify a problem that people are having, or you can offer a solution that they want, then that really is what's important. And then it's learning, and this is unfortunate, but the way it is, you know how they say don't judge a book by its cover. Well, that is exactly what we do. We judge a book by its cover.
Right.
So, so it's really important to have a great title and cover. You know, those, and then if you write a good book, great. If you write a great book, that's even better. But, you know, the main thing, too, is to know your audiences and to do the research, the marketing research before you write a book. And this is the thing that most people do not do.
Yes. Okay,
they write a book, and then they start thinking about, okay, what's my title? How am I going to market this? And it's backwards. Backwards.
Yeah. Well, how did you get into this business?
Good question. So it's actually kind of funny. When I was growing up, both of my parents wanted to be authors, and I remember one day my mom said, "I'm gonna write my book," and she went into her wherever it was she was going to write, I think her bedroom, and she came back about a little bit later, and she said, "Well, I wrote one page and I'm done." But I do come from a family of writers. I mean, my grandmother was an English teacher. My grandfather was the night editor of the Los Angeles Examiner, and my mother was the editor of her school newspaper. So it's sort of in my DNA. But But what happened for me was that I guess because of that, I always wanted to be an author. It was just something, that I saw myself doing one day. And when I was younger, I mean, I didn't really think I had anything to say. Then I got into songwriting, and that was like 20 years, and I'm getting actually back into it now. But I had a very long, circuitous journey, because what happened to me was that we were in the music business. The music business is extremely difficult. It's way more difficult than being an author, I got to tell you guys, because the business of music is very messed up. The record companies didn't foresee what was coming, digitally and streaming and all that kind of stuff, and they didn't get on top of it. And so people ended up getting music for free, and now, like, younger people think that they should just get it for free. So then what happened was that even when I was more active in it, you get like 10 cents a record, and everybody else is getting rich off of you. And they've been trying to get it so that, you get more money, but it's been a real struggle. But it's very difficult to make a living in the music business.
Really?
And, and so, as a matter of fact, I have a co-writer who never got out. I mean, he's been in the whole time. He's even got a writing deal with a major company, and he still has to work on the side, doing, being an Uber driver,
Wow.
So, yeah. So,
you're just breaking my vision here. You're just crumbling it into business,
I'm
into
sorry.
pieces. I thought it was just automatic. You write a song and life is good.
No. It's very difficult. I mean, unless you're the artist, because the artists are making the money from concerts. And,
I see.
Yeah, that's where they make their money. So anyway, but I was in the music business, and I was very blessed to have my parents. And my husband and I built actually it was my parents' idea, but we built a world-class studio in the house that I grew up in. And we worked with amazing artists. I mean, we worked with backup singers who worked with Luther Vandross. I worked with Terry Steele, who's a friend of mine who wrote Here and Now for Luther Vandross. I wrote with David Young, who was in Air Supply. I mean, just a lot of really great people. But then my parents both passed away within 11 months of each other, and I wasn't able to get my brother on board to keep the house, and I ended up having to sell it. And so I not only lost my parents and the house I grew up in, but I lost my livelihood.
Yeah. So that was tough.
Anyway, so we were living in Los Angeles where I grew up, and we decided to move down to San Diego just because everywhere I went was a memory, and I was just constantly in tears. And I said, let's just, get away from here for a while. So we moved down to San Diego, and it was right when the housing market was taking off. And we bought a condo, and we loved that condo. We really didn't want to sell it, but we needed the equity that we got out of it. And what we did was we started buying, fixing, and selling houses because before I could sell my mom's house, I had to fix it because it had been very badly damaged in the Northridge earthquake. I don't know if people remember that, but it was a big one. And we lived right near where the Santa Monica Freeway collapsed. So it was, so our street looked like a war zone. But, anyway, so we started buying, fixing, and selling houses right when the market was taking off. We started making really good money doing that. And I had actually gone to graduate school in architecture, so I didn't think I would ever use it, but as it turned out, I did. And so at least I knew, how to talk to the contractors and people and everything. And then the market got too hot. There was nothing to buy. Nobody would finance us anymore. And we ended up taking a property management job back in Los Angeles. And at that point, I was just trying to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And that's when I got online, and I thought, okay, it's time. I'm gonna see if I can write a book. So I found a New York Times best-selling author who was doing like reviews of people's work. And I signed up for a consultation, and I basically was like, well, do you think I can do this? Do you think my writing's good enough? And he said, oh, yeah, your writing is great. You just have to start sending stuff out on spec. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I did that for 20 years in the music business, and it didn't get me very far. I won a lot of awards, but I didn't make much money. So, I beat out 30,000 people to win grand prize in pop lyric writing in the Music City Song Festival.
Wow,
so,
that's quite an award.
I know, which blew me away. So, but I couldn't make a living. I just couldn't make a living. So, anyway, what I did was, I said, okay, well, I don't want to do that because I did that already. I'm over that. And so I got online, I started looking around, and I found ebooks. And I thought, this is really cool because you can write, you can get it directly to your audience, you don't have to worry about gatekeepers, because the reason I was so against them is that's what you had in the music business, where it's like you go in, to an A&R person is what they're called. And one literally had said to us, my job is to say no, and your job is to convince me why I should say yes. And they always said such stupid things. Like one time I was having a meeting with this woman, and she said, oh, why can't you bring me a song like this one? And the song was Piano in the Dark. And that song was written by the artist. And anybody who knows the music business knows that songs written by artists have way more leeway than songs written by songwriters, because songs written by songwriters have to be able to fit for many different artists. And they have to be way better than what the artist can write. So, so I thought, it was just stupid. I mean, it was so hard to get in, and there was so much money to be made that they didn't want to let you in. And so, and not only that, but I mean, after 20 years of rejection after rejection and heartbreak stories, which I could tell by the hour, I just didn't, I just wasn't interested in that anymore. So when I found ebooks, it was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. I don't have to like write a book proposal. I don't have to deal with rejection. I don't have to wait for somebody to give me permission. I can just do what I want to do. Yeah. I mean, as it turns out, you can't just do what you want to do. You have to know where the market is, and you have to know what they want and give them something they want. But there's still way more freedom than in traditional publishing or, in music. So that's how it happened. So that's how I got started. And the first book that I wrote was actually a book about moving. So we had been buying, fixing, and selling houses and moving like every 6 months. And the movers had said to me, God, you've gotten so good at this, So my first idea was I was going to write the book and convince realtors to buy the book and give it to their clients or their prospects. And
that's a good
anyway,
thought.
so
I like that.
Yeah, so I started writing the book. And at that point, I went looking for a book coach, who understood ebooks, and lo and behold, there weren't any. I was like, how can there not be any? This is crazy. So, and we even went to, at that point, the big conference was the big seminar, and we went to the big seminar, and I said, I'm sure I'll find somebody here. It's like, nope, there was nobody there. There was one book, and there was one like e-course, through like email. And so I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do now? Because I needed help. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just get a regular coach, which I did, and I was paying him like $500 a month to do that, and there was no system. So it was like you just do what you do. You make mistakes, and then he would tell you what you're doing wrong or not to do. And I thought, there's got to be an easier way than this. This is ridiculous. And so I created a workshop, and it wasn't called this in those days, but it was the 3 Days to eBook Cash workshop. And so I did that, and the first time I taught it, I only had, well, let me back up a little. In those days, Mark Hendricks, the late Mark Hendricks, did something called the 12 Days of Christmas. You remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
And what he would do is he would get all these marketers together, and everybody would give something away for free, and everybody would promote it. So you had like 77 people promoting this thing. I mean, it was huge.
Oh my word! Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
So I went from having 200 people on my list that I had, just scraped and begged to get.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, in 2 weeks doing that with him, I had 1,600 people on my list.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I was immediately in business. And then the next year, I got 3,000 people on my list. So, I mean, it was huge for me, but that first time, put me in business overnight, basically.
Wow. Yeah.
So I did, what I did was I actually had worked with a coach, and he had a journal for writing ebooks. And I thought it could be better. So I went to him and I said, I like what you did, but I can make it better. Would you like to go 50-50 on this and let me, use this for Mark Hendricks' giveaway? And he said, no, that's okay. You can just take it and use it. So I did. So I took it and I, improved it. And then what I did was I gave that away for the giveaway. And then I invited people to a 2-part seminar on how to write an ebook, and each one was like 90 minutes. So my thinking
was that on the internet? That was on the internet,
that
right?
That was on the internet.
Okay.
And my thinking was, I'm just going to show people that I know what I'm talking about by giving them so much value in this thing.
Yeah.
And plus, I recorded it, and then it became a product. So I did that, and then I got 2 people into my first workshop, and of course I was devastated. But then I taught it, and then they told me everything that wasn't right or that wasn't good enough yet. So, like, what happened was that when the whole thing was over, someone said to me, well, now it was great, but I need a writing course. I didn't learn how to write it. And I go, what do you mean? And what she was saying was, well, I talked about how to find your passion and your skill set and your market and all that stuff, but I didn't have a step-by-step process for the actual writing.
Right.
So I did more research, and I figured one out. And then with that, I just kept teaching it over and over, and I've now taught it like 30 times over the last, since 2004. Yeah. And I've taught hundreds of authors how to do that. And but anyway, after I did that first workshop, then people said, well, we need to know how to market our book. So then I did. So then I created a marketing workshop, and that was hell. That was absolute hell because what I did. Well, first of all, there were pieces that I knew people needed that I wasn't good at yet. Things I didn't know. So what I did was I brought on some guest speakers, and I had Maury Smith, who's a Facebook guru now.
Yeah. Yes.
I had Paul Colligan, who's a podcast guru. I had Craig Perrine. So I had really good people to fill in the pieces that I wasn't good at. I recorded that, and I turned that into a program. But that program, and they say we sell it first and then worry about how to create it. Well, it took me like 7 months to create it, and people were screaming and yelling because it took me so long. Because I'd never done it before. And, so that was painful. And then over time, the internet changed, so I started making a lot of money really fast, first of all. The first year I made like $47,000, and in 2 years I was making six figures. But then the recession hit. I lost half my business. I had to sell just about everything I owned just to stay in business.
Oh.
And all my jewelry, my wedding ring, everything. I got rid of everything. And but I stayed in business. And then I had to rebuild. I had to learn all over again what to do, how to do it, and I struggled for several years. And then I had a major illness. My husband had a major illness. We became homeless. It's just bankruptcy.
Oh my goodness!
Just the whole, everything that could go wrong. So that's what happened. But I was lucky because there were people who, first of all, believed in me. And when I just was at rock bottom, I remember what happened was we actually had an apartment that was in a mansion. So there was this mansion upstairs, and then they had like 6 apartments underneath it, and it wasn't up to code. So the neighbors got mad, and they called the city, and everybody got kicked out. And
dear.
It was right after, and I was sick at the time, and now I was homeless. And so we ended up in a Stay America, which is like $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
And so one day, I was just in my car, and we had nowhere to stay that night. I just didn't know what we were going to do, and nobody would help us in my family. And I went back in, and I created some offer, and I have Infusionsoft, and they screwed it up. The guy didn't tell me right how to do what I was trying to do, and it was a mess. But I ended up getting enough money just to keep us, from being literally on the street.
Yes.
And anyway, and then after a while, we finally, found a place. But when I was really desperate, and I'd been desperate more times than I care to tell you at different times.
Yeah.
But there were people who believed in me, and one guy gave me a course. I don't want to say in what because he wouldn't want to be outed. But he gave me a course, and that really helped me. And then I had another mentor who I'd actually bought a course from years ago, and his course was for life. So I thought, okay, well, I better plug back in. So I did that. And his coaching wasn't real expensive. So at some point I was just able to start paying him a little bit again and start getting back on my feet. But you know, the thing is, there's a few things. I mean, one is that nobody told me when I first started. It was like, oh, the internet, you know, oh, you're going to be rich and sitting on a beach and 24/7 and all this kind of nonsense. And nobody really talked about the reality of being an entrepreneur. Nobody talked about the ups and downs, the emotional ups and downs, the cash flow ups and downs, all that. So I thought there was something wrong with me because I was going through all this stuff, you know. Yeah. And I thought, oh, it's just me, you know. Yeah. And I remember when I first started my podcast, and I was talking to this friend of mine who was interviewing me, and she said, and I was explaining that, and she goes, oh, you mean the entrepreneurial journey? And I go, yeah, but nobody told me that. You know, nobody told me. So, you know, when you sit in your room by yourself and you think, oh, my God, you know, I'm just a complete failure. Yes. And, you know, and I wasn't used to that. I mean, I did really well in school. I, you know, like you said, you know, I got awards, whatever I did, you know, Grammy nomination, I mean, all this stuff. And it just was like, I just didn't know how to cope with it at all. Right. You know, so that was really hard. Yeah. And then the other thing was what I learned about myself, and I think this is true of probably all creative people, but I was great with ideas, but I didn't like running a business. And what I discovered was, like, it's monotonous, it's boring, I don't like this. And so I had to figure out, okay, how can I have a business where I'm engaged, where I'm excited, where I'm interested, because I was not interested anymore. It's like doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And I just didn't have any joy in it anymore. Right. And
okay, so, Ellen, I'm going to stop you here because we're going to take our break. It's a good place because when we come back, we're all anxious to hear how you made that decision and got you through the business part of entrepreneurship. But anyway, we will be back to hear the more of Ellen's story, which I'm sitting on the edge of my chair wondering, okay, when's this going to change? Okay, when's it going to change? Now, while you're gone, you can go to my website, Joyce Buford Empowers, and get that freebie so that you can start with happiness. And I'm going to send Ellen a copy of that too. But she's already happy. But back then she could have used it. But anyway, we will be back shortly so Ellen can finish her story of how it just turned around for her. So stay tuned.
Transformational coach, motivational speaker, and author Joyce Buford returns after this short break. Close your eyes and imagine living your life without limits. Where would you go? Who would you meet? What would you do? During an Uncover Your Hidden Genius session, you will discover what's keeping you from living your life with purpose, passion, and fulfillment of your potential. You'll get a clear vision of the steps you need to take to uncover your hidden genius so that you can live a life without limits. Sessions can be done over the phone, Skype, or in person. Find out more at www.joycebufordempowers.com or by calling 903-287-0747.
TogiNet Radio has partnered with one of the largest travel booking engines in the world to offer savings of 15 to 30% or more on hotel booking fees through our own web portal, www.bestradiotravel.com. Discover the discount you can receive by going to bestradiotravel.com/Joyce, Joyce, to see for yourself. This is a custom booking site for the listeners of my show through TogiNet Radio. We have negotiated special rates at over 650,000 hotels worldwide to save our customers money. Our members leverage our massive buying power to save thousands of dollars by booking with us. bestradiotravel.com can beat the best prices offered by any other major travel booking website. Please go to bestradiotravel.com/Joyce. Sign up and enjoy the discounts. This is bestradiotravel.com/Joyce. Joyce.
Welcome back to this segment of Second Wind. Joyce Buford, the author of Effortless Happiness, continues in this segment to share insights that will help you live a life of greater purpose and filled with happiness. Now here's our host, author and coach, Joyce Buford.
We are back, and we are talking with Ellen Violette. And Ellen produces ebooks and helps people do that. And she's been telling about her journey if you were in the first half, you know all about that. And so we're anxiously awaiting, because she also pointed us out to us that entrepreneurship is not just automatically a win type of situation, but it can be. And so Ellen's going to share it with us how she turned it around into a win situation. So Ellen, please.
Yeah.
Help.
Okay. So, so basically what I discovered about myself was that I needed to be engaged. I needed to be interested, and I wasn't interested anymore. Yeah. And so I had to start figuring out, and it's always in flux. I mean, I'm always changing. You know, it's like I do something for a while, and then I get bored with it, and then I have to do something else. You know, but I'm still always in my niche. You know. Yes. So I had to look at that and go, okay, well, I went back to getting really clear and thinking about, what do I love to do? Like, what really interests me? You know, what has always interested me? And I can remember even in college, I loved, like, going to coffee houses and just sitting and talking, talking with people, talking about different things. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna do my podcast. I really want to do the podcast. And I started out as a writer, and I love writing. And part of the struggle too is, when video came in. It's like I didn't like video, and I didn't want to be on video. And I would do it. I mean, I do it every now and then, but I didn't want that to be like my main way of doing my business, because it's just not fun for me. So I had to go, okay, well, what do I want to do, and how do I want to do it? And so I just, that was part of it. And then the other part was to just keep going. I mean, part of it is persistence. Part of it is stubbornness, just not giving up. Just being willing to try different things. And also just being really good at what you do. I mean, part of what's happened over time is I started getting more and more referrals. Yeah. So, that was really great. But also what happened was, I got really tired of doing product launches. So, when I was doing the workshop, I mean, every time you do one, you have to launch it.
Yes.
And so, and it was really up and down in terms of cash flow. Yes. So I was like, okay, well, what I really want to do is I want to make my business more passive and more consistent, and also find other ways to make money as opposed to just making it all from coaching. Because also, as you get older, what happens if you get to the point where you can't do that anymore, or you just don't want to do it anymore, or you don't want to be tied to having to be there at certain times. So, what happened in the early years was I was making so much money that I never automated anything. And eventually that became a negative, that nothing was automated. So I've really spent the last couple of years, really working on that. I mean, starting the podcast, getting my first funnel done. Yes. This year I was creating a couple of courses. One's on writing titles, and the other one is on rapid book creation. But one of the things that you had asked me when we were in the break is, aren't ebooks different from books? And, I became known as the ebook coach in a time where they were seen as different, where, ebooks were seen as being more conversational, less professional, I guess. It's not like that now. Now it's like you just write one book and you just put it in the different formats. So, you know, I mean, you can call me an ebook coach, a book coach, whatever you want, but it's all the same. You know, it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So
that's really the deal. Go on.
So I could take the book that I wrote and turn it into a short ebook? Is that what you're saying?
Well, is the book short?
Yeah, it's not that long. Right.
Okay.
So it would probably be the ebook.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a different format.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you know, a print book is PDF and for EPUB, I call them EPUBs, but that's really what the format is, EPUB or Mobi. You can do PDF if you can get it right in like in Amazon, but we do EPUBs. That's the format we use. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how is the audio book, how is that going to affect the ebook? Is that going to affect the ebook?
It doesn't affect it at all. It's just another format that you can use.
Oh, okay. All right. Because there are those people that gather their information visually and those that gather it audibly, right?
Right. Well, I actually did a podcast with Derek Doebker, and we talked about audiobooks, and he gave some really great tips and information on how to get started with those. So, so people should listen to the podcast. It's at booksbusinessabundance.com/podcast. And then you can always do / and then the episode number. So let's see, that one was episode 16. So it would be booksbusinessabundance.com/podcast/16.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yes. That may have been the one. Are y'all great friends? The one I listened to was you were good friends and you were you were having a great time. But that's not I don't remember the number.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was one of the more recent.
Yeah, I've had a lot of my good pals on because they're all bright. they're all really brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
But see, again, that's all part of it. See, we have fun. That was the part. Like I wasn't having fun anymore. You know? Yeah. So I mean, I really want to encourage people. You know, like if you're not having fun, step back and really get clear about, you know, what brings you joy, because it's so easy to just get caught up in this. Oh, well, this will make me money. You know, and like I said, I started making money really fast, and after 2 years, it was like, well, great, I'm making money, but I'm miserable. So now what? You know, it's like you got to figure out beyond that what motivates you, what's going to motivate you.
Right.
You know?
I did that. I did a launch last year. It was exhaustive. Let me say that. It just wore me out. And I felt like a wounded warrior.
Imagine doing 30 of them.
What?
Imagine doing 30 of them.
No. But anyway, after I could raise my head again and kind of look around and see, I did one of those. What do I really like about this business? And like you, I like the podcast. I like that audience. I like asking questions and all that. And so for me, that's where I settled. Because I didn't want to give that up. I could give up that launch in a minute, but I couldn't give up the podcasting.
Right. Well, the other thing I love about podcasting is when I interview people, I always learn something and I always get excited.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge. I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much to learn with this stuff. I mean, I often do still feel overwhelmed, like going, oh my God, I'm never going to learn this all. And the truth is, you're probably not ever going to learn it all. You know?
So just get rid of that expectation.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. So now how do you work with clients now?
Well, I've been working with clients one-on-one.
Okay.
And more, intensive, high-end, complete kind of packages, because what I found was that, like, here's what happened is, I did the book writing for the 30 Times, but then around 2012, I got into bestseller launches, doing bestseller launches, and I have a 100% success rate taking my clients to number one on Amazon. But I fell into I fell into it because what I was doing was I was going in there with my clients just to kind of look around, do some research on their books, and I started discovering the algorithms. And it's so funny because my husband and I were talking about this the other day. I went to the racetrack. We went on Saturday because my brother's a jockey agent, and I hadn't seen him in quite a while, and I was so excited to see him. So, and when I lived at home, we used to go to the racetrack with my parents all the time. My parents were like avid racetrackers. Uh-huh. And so I learned how to read a racing form and analyze the races, and I did it for years. And all of a sudden I said to my husband, that's exactly what I do on Amazon. For the bestseller launches. It's like I analyze the numbers. It's like, oh my God. And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, that was like you were training all those years and you didn't know it, So I started doing that, and I got really well known for that. And then that became a rut. You know what I mean? Because that's all I was doing. And I thought, okay, this has to stop. So that's when I decided with that, it's like, okay, what's happening is people would come to me and their book would already be done. And then I would have to go back and fix it. And what I mean by that is, like, somebody came to me and she wanted, her book was already done. She already had her cover, and her title was not right for what she was doing. So she thought her book was about death, and her book wasn't about death. It was about the afterlife. And so her book was never going to get found in Amazon because it was in the wrong category. So she was lucky because we were able to just change one word and it still worked. But sometimes people would come to me and that wasn't the case. We'd have to like scrap it and start over and because they weren't doing it in the right order. So you need to do the research first so you know that you've got a good niche and your positioning is right, and you've made it different from the other books so it stands out. I mean, there's just a lot of things that you need to, it's not hard, but it's like you just need to follow, the recipe. And so I thought, okay, well, I don't like this because, it's not really working and it's all connected. So I was doing like one piece at a time. And then I finally said, I can't do this anymore because it's all connected. It's all integrated. So now we do more packages where it's we've got to at least do the publishing and the bestseller launch. We've got to do the publishing if we're doing the bestseller launch. And if we're doing the bestseller launch, I have to believe in it. So usually, I prefer it if we've done the cover. And then I have a web person who can do the website for the launch. And when I've tried to use other people and they go, oh, I have my own guy, and then we use them, it's always a headache because they never do it right. So it's just better to just, if you're going to do it right, get the whole package and just, follow the recipe.
Right. Is the package called, when we were doing mine, I went to one company for this and another company for that. So I probably was what you don't want to work with, where you do it from beginning to end, correct?
Right. Well, we do work with people where they already have the book written. I just prefer it. If, sometimes calling it, I used to have a friend, she actually died, but she called herself like a book shepherd, like last year I worked with we did a really great book. I love this book. It's called Niche Down. And my client is Christopher Lockheed, and he's got one of the top podcasts, business podcasts in the world. And and his thing is category design. But when they came to me, they hadn't written the book yet, which is perfectly fabulous as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. So, so what we did was we started by doing the marketing research first and coming up with the title for the book and the subtitle. And that is one of my specialties because coming from the music business, it's all about hooks. I'm really good with writing hooks and
right.
kind of honing in on what's going to connect emotionally. So, we came up with the title, we did the book cover, and then while we were doing all this, they were writing the book. And then we were editing it chapter by chapter as they were writing it so that when they got done, it was pretty much done, as opposed to having the book done and then sending it out for editing. I've done other ones where I worked with a couple of writers this last year where they were PhDs, and it was more of a technical type book for leadership.
Yeah.
And they had to do it like they felt they had to get it all done before it could, before anyone could look at it. But we still did the marketing first. So, yeah.
Do you have an average length for an ebook? I know the technical one would be longer, but if somebody just says they want to write an ebook, do you have an average estimate on what the length of an ebook is?
No. I mean, I have a book that's 30 pages, and I have books that are 150 pages. I had one that was 230 pages. I mean, It's whatever you need to write in order for it to fulfill the promise of what you promise in your title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so you talk about getting support. Is the support looking for a company like yours that can take it from beginning to end, or that's the best scenario? Or
it's totally the best scenario. I mean, like I had this woman come to me. Actually, we just finished publishing her book, and here was a situation where, first of all, she already had her title. She was, her book was already written, and she was very married to that title. And it turned out there was another book with that title. So,
oh dear.
We ended up having to change it, but that was her thing. She's like, oh my God, I love that, you can do it all. So, I mean, we did the editing, we did the formatting, we did the publishing, so it's like, you don't have to go and find an editor, find a formatter, find a designer, find this, find that. No,
Right. Yeah.
So in fact, right now I'm working on a book that's connected to a movie. They're releasing a movie and a book. And I just sent him the proofs of the book cover this morning, and he wrote me back, and he said, "I love it. It's phantasmagorical." He goes, "Is that a word?" I go, "It is now."
Just made it. That's fun. That is fun. That makes it fun.
Yeah, well, but I'm very blessed. I have a great team. I mean, it took a while to put it together, but it's really great. It's really great to know that you have people that you can depend on, that are going to do a great job for your clients, for the different things. And also part of it too is not try to stick with what you're really good at. I know people say this but it's true. It's like if you stick with, I can't do book covers. I'm not a designer. I wouldn't even know where to start, but I've got somebody on my team who's great at it. I've got somebody on my team when we do bestseller launches, they do all the back end stuff. I don't have to deal with that anymore. I used to do it all myself.
Oh my. Yeah. Okay. Now you have a great offer for my listeners. Would you like to talk about that? Because I want to go get it too.
You do?
I do. Who knows? I may have another book in me.
Okay. Well, let's see. If you go to the booksbusinessabundance.com website, you will see there is a book writing blueprint, and it shows you how to kind of set up your structure for getting started. I mean, a lot of people will say, well, I would like to write a book, but I don't know how to get started.
Uh-huh.
So this will give you that beginning piece.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get started.
Yeah. So
and it's free. It's free.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just said it's free.
And it's free. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
So if I was deciding I wanted to write another book, would it would be related to who I coach with? Is that it? Is that how I would start this?
Well, it depends on what you want your book to do for you. You know, sometimes people write a book for a particular program. A lot of times I talk to coaches and they're working with people one-on-one.
Yes.
And they go, I don't know what to write my book on. And I go, well, when you work with people, how do you work with them? And then they just start rattling it off. Well, we do this and this and this. And I go, that's your book. It's like they have the book. They just don't know they have the book.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of take your course and make it into a book.
You can take a course and make it into a book. You can take a process and make it into a book. I have a book that I did. It's a collaborative book. It's called How to Crush It in Business Without Crushing Your Spirit, How Entrepreneurs Can Overcome Depression and Find Success. And I did that book because there were times I was so depressed, I was ready to shoot myself. And then I realized I was not the only one. And, you know, being on social media and seeing all people go through this, and especially a lot of the stories ended up being related to the recession in 2008. And a lot of people really lost a lot, you know. Mm-hmm. But it was fascinating to do the book because there were so many different kinds of depression and ways that people dealt with it. And so, that's not my main thing, but I felt compelled to write that book for entrepreneurs because I thought it was important to do. So, you know, all my other books are mostly more related to, you know, book writing, book marketing. I have one book that's 30 pages, and that book was based on 10 years of experience on, you know, how to get $10,000 clients.
Oh, yeah.
But it took me 10 years to figure out how to do it.
The research time was big.
Right, the research time was, exactly. So the book's only 30 pages, but I basically told them my blueprint.
Yes. And then how do you use that ebook? Do you use it as a freebie, or you sell it?
No,
it's on your website,
they're on Amazon. My books are on.
Oh, they're on Amazon.
Most of my books are on Amazon, not all of them, but some of them are also on my website. And all the books can be found through the website at booksbusinessabundance.com/books. Mm-hmm. But, the last one I wrote is 21 Simple Strategies to Jumpstart Your Book Marketing Online. And I wrote that one because I would see, and this is a really great way to find topics for books, by the way. I would see so many people in social media go, I wrote my book and I don't have a clue how to market it.
Yes.
You know, or they would say, well, I don't have the money to do a bestseller launch, you know, to learn how to do it right. And so I wanted to give people some simple things that they could do really easily to jumpstart their marketing. You know?
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Now, what is the advantage of selling a book through Amazon for those people out there? I know, versus selling it on your website. Even off your website, do you redirect them to Amazon?
Some of them are redirected to Amazon. A couple of them are not. One of them is not because it was written in 2006. It's an old book, and the person I wrote it with has been not really cooperative in letting me update it, which is really annoying, but that's the deal with that. And then I have another one that is not on Amazon because one of the co-writers has been very uncooperative, and so basically I'm in the process of just scrapping her part, and I redid it a different way. So now I just need to format it, and then that one will go up. But the advantage is that, I have been in books that were collaborative books, and guess what? I've got boxes of books, you know.
Got it.
And they were in storage for a long time, but and some still are. But the beauty of Amazon is that it's publishing on demand. So as people buy them, they get printed. So you don't have to do anything. Amazon pays you. It's just a really easy way to do it. I can't imagine for me doing it any other way. Now, and if you're a speaker, I mean, you can buy books in bulk from Amazon. You don't have to. You don't have to. I mean, there are people who like to go to a local printer and just buy books, get a bunch of books. Yeah. But the other thing is, you've got a much larger, outlay. I mean, you've got to pay for the books up front, and then you've got to store them. So I'm all for convenience, easy. The easier I can make my life, the better, especially the older I get, the less I want to deal with it.
Well, we are coming to the end of this hour, and I could just go on and listen to you for another hour because you're just a wealth of information. And it's just been so much fun having you on the show. So I just thank you for sharing all those great ideas that you shared with us today, as well as giving us some food for thought about being an entrepreneur and keeping the show going and all of the challenges that we do have. So, Ellen, I thank you very much for being with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. I just want to tell people, persist, keep searching, clarify, and have fun.
Oh, I love it. What a great way to end today's program with those very wise words from Ellen. I hope you'll be here next week as we continue our journey and listen to another fabulous guest. And we will miss Ellen's words of wisdom that she shared with us today. But you can always go back and listen to this again. So anyway, keep on sharing. Let the world know about Second Wind because we've got more stuff coming. Thank you for being here today. It's always a pleasure to spend time. Thanks. Have a great week.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at JoyceBufordEmpowers.com.